got a URL. Every website you create, you've got a URL that goes to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a way of locating you and finding out what you're doing.
No, only a method of finding
No, that's
a
exactly it.
specific page, a particular resource.
It's called the Uniform Resource
Uniform,
Locator.
okay. Uniform.
Locator. Big word right
Oh.
there. Locator. That means
Yeah. Much like a postal address.
it's a path to a specific page or file. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A resource.
Or a network.
Much like a
network.
resource. Much like a postal address, it's a address of a connection to a actual physical building.
Or a network port, right?
Not a port. Oh, actually,
To make a connection, you need to have
the text of a URL would contain something would have the protocol first. So yeah, port.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe port number at the end.
See, so that they get you in the connection as well.
Hey, sorry, what do you mean?
With the network port, when you set up your network to get on your computer and go onto the internet, you have to freaking go into a port, don't you?
No, you access specific resources using specific ports.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at a web page, then you're using port, generally speaking, TCP port 80 for insecure non-SSL based 509 certificate pages, and port 443 for secure pages.
Well, you also have to think about, like, in files too. You turn around and you freaking you have reference points and stuff that are within freaking files too, like they're named anchors, you know, that are inside of the HTML files and stuff like that. So when you turn around and you put a freaking file up, you know what I mean? They can even track you with that stuff too. You know.
They can the web admin, again using the term "they" in extremely broad context, like you and Mr. Robert was doing yesterday. System administrators can generally be able to tell which page you would have accessed, which resource you have accessed, which media file you've accessed through a web browser.
Now, it gets even more intricate too, because have you ever heard of an ASC2?
What?
An ASC2 character set?
Okay. Yeah, standard. Yeah, I don't want to go into the entire thing about character sets because they are can be an extremely complicated subject. But yeah, it's how you recognize different character sets.
Yeah, so that basically it does what they consider. It converts it from what they consider to be a freaking unsafe ASC2 freaking characters, basically.
What?
So they freaking take the URL and they convert it into what they consider a valid ASC2 format. Okay.
A human readable URL.
You know, because according to them, the URL encoding is supposed to be replacing unsafe ASC2 characters.
Oh no! Oh, you mean
that's supposed to be those
websites? Yeah.
You know all those percentage sites you see in the freaking address?
Occasionally come across websites or web pages that have spaces in the addresses.
And they have the percentage
And I
signs followed by
look at
two.
newspapers, news agency sites do this on articles. It drives me absolutely mad.
Right there on top where you see your URL. Okay, you see all those freaking percentage signs. They're followed by two hexadecimal digits. You see those? That's an ACS2 right there. Okay.
The colon. Can't remember. I would have to pull up some data on.
They're using all of that shit right there, dude. Freaking track and convert and determine what's safe and what's not safe.
Again, who are they?
Oh, you know who they are. Don't play it off like you don't know. Yes, you do. We keep saying they for a reason. One of these days, you will tell us. You
mean the blue fluffy aliens from Alpha Centauri that are in control of the lizard people that came originally from Atlantis?
Wow, dude, you are like out there. You are freaking hardcore, dude. I cannot believe you just said that on this channel, dude. That was embarrassing. That was embarrassing. You're supposed to be an intellectual man, dude.
Far too much time around you and people like Mr. Robot.
You are supposed to be a well-educated, intelligent man, dude. How could you even say stuff like that on the show, dude? That's horrible.
You didn't pick up on the note of sarcasm.
Okay. Okay, so now that you've mentioned conspiracies and aliens and stuff like that, I want to bring up the thing about CompuServe again and kind of go into that, because URLs and everything is kind of important. Okay, but like I think it was 1979, freaking CompuServe was ended up being sold to freaking Radio Shack. Okay, and I remember back in the day, Radio Shack had a really there actually was a conspiracy out about Radio Shack, because it was kind of like convenience stores, you know, like here in the United States we have Circle K. And it's like there's a saying that Circle K is on every corner, and that was the way Radio Shack was. They were everywhere. There were
Tandy, the European brand name for Radio Shack. It was at one point it was extremely common to find Tandy in many towns in the UK.
Mm-hmm. They ended up selling CompuServe to freaking Radio Shack, I believe, and I believe their competitors were the Source, who they later, I think, bought freaking the Source out even after they freaking did CompuServe. Now,
sorry, the Source?
Huh?
The Source.
Yeah, it was another company that was like Radio Shack, an electronics company.
Okay.
It was an online service, actually.
Online service in 79?
Yeah, 1979.
Are you sure there was not more postal service, you know?
Well, I'm sure back then they did have, like, freaking you buy something and then it was delivered to you, but you had to maybe pay freaking right there at the door or something like that, because, like, you got to remember back then they had cash on delivery and stuff. So I'm pretty sure freaking they had some kind of setup. It wasn't as precise as what it is today. You know, I'm definitely sure of that.
Yeah.
but they were actually one. Now, H&R Block ended up buying the company after that in 1980, which was 1 year later. Okay, so you go from Radio Shack, which was highly controversial during that time, to H&R Block, which was even more controversial. Like here in the United States, everybody freaking talks shit about H&R Block because of like just the way they freaking have always done their dealings. Okay, they were another company like Radio Shack, where they were everywhere, and now you even have the ability to go in there and have your tax returns done for them or by them. You know what I mean? And they ended up buying out freaking Radio Shack and the Source and CompuServe all together, and they're the ones who ended up having them in 1980. Now, CompuServe from all through the 1980s literally dominated the industry. Okay. And well, actually, no, the Source, I think they freaking bought them out later. It wasn't in 1980. I don't think they had them. I couldn't tell you when they ended up buying them out, but I knew that they had them. They even got into comic books and stuff like that. So they had a lot of big things going on. And eventually what happened is there was a deal where they ended up buying it. They ended up buying the Source. That's what I just found out, the Source. Eventually, they did buy the Source in the 1980s. They don't say specifically what year in which they did it. I went and checked it on WikiLeaks. Now, one popular use of CompuServe. CompuServe dominated the industry during the 80s, buying their competitor, the Source.
In the U.S.
Yeah. Now, one popular use of CompuServe during the 1980s was file exchange, particularly pictures. In 1985, it hosted one of the earliest online comics, which is in Stitches. CompuServe introduced a simple black and white image format known as RLE, which is run link encoding, to standardize the image so that they could be shared among different types of microcomputers. Now, with the introduction of more powerful machines enabling display of color, CompuServe introduced the much more capable graphic interface format, which is the GIF. Invented by Steve Wilhite. GIF later became the most common format for 8-bit images transmitted by internet during the early to mid-1990s. At its peak during the 1990s, CIS had an online chat system, message forum for a variety of topics, extensive software libraries for most personal computers, and series of popular online games, including Mega Wars, Island of Kesmai, and in 1994 it was described as the oldest of the big three information services. So this was one of the big three, if you know what that is. I know you do, Mark.
I've got a quick question actually. When you said the most common personal computer